Hello, everyone. My name is Louis Yakumi from LConnect, connecting the supply chain and the logistics executives globally. And today we'll be focusing on the Asia Pacific region with Dr. Balakrishnan. Dr. Balakrishnan is the VP of Material Planning and Logistics, Plant Operations, Material Flow and Packaging Engineering for the International Markets Group at Ford Motor Company. So welcome, Dr. Balakrishnan. And
Good afternoon, Louis. Yeah.
good afternoon. And can you just explain your job function, because it's not a straightforward logistics or transportation role?
Yeah. Thank you. And first of all, it's my immense pleasure to have this session with you. Stalwart like you always express and build the automotive connect globally and try to kind of bring everyone together. Regarding my role, this is basically a central function. When I say MP&L, Material Planning and Logistics central function. And I take this in three phases. The first phase, MP&L plan group role focuses the inventory management, production control, and lean material flow in the plant. So the international market group carries around 12 plants, including the vehicle operations as well as the powertrain plants. It's a group activity. So I am responsible to ensure that these activities performed properly in the plant. My second leg is material flow and packaging engineering, which basically having a collaboration role with the product development, manufacturing engineering, and purchasing to make sure that whatever the products that we launch, or we capacitize any activities in the plant sites, what should be done in terms of ensuring the physical readiness in the plant. My third leg of my responsibility is to make sure the supplier readiness in the aspect of logistics and materials planning, to ensure that supplier meets the delivery performance, also supplier meets the launch readiness. And this involves a lot of interaction with the quality, launch, and the as well as the supplier technical assistance, which we call STA. So I think that's my broader role. So basically it is like a cross-functional role, and this role is really helping a strategy planning, which allows the downstream logistics and supply chain users effectively procure parts and support production. Thank you.
Thank you. Uh, and just to kind of, start off with a question which is maybe particularly relevant and important now. How is the chip shortage, the microchip semiconductor shortage, affecting your role? How is it impacting what you're doing now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it is impacting across all the industries, and I clearly in automotive sector, it is really impacting very much. So like I said, I need to make sure the part delivery to the plant to run the production. This is currently having an impact in terms of balancing our cash and the revenue. When I say revenue, like you procure parts and you need to store the parts, manage the inventory, but you are not able to complete the vehicle on account of the chip shortage where you're accumulating inventory. And with your limited space that we have, it needs an extended warehouse, or you have to go for external warehouse because your space in the plants are very limited. So that's the balancing stuff that currently we do what we should be doing, because then we need to do a premium freight we need to inform supply chain team to get that premium freight and all that to run the production. So that's one of the key thing. And also what I see, we are going through an allocation mode globally, and also to see whether allocated quantity is getting distributed, because sometimes we do allocation and we see how it is allocated within the company across the OEMs and within the OEM allocation management. So that is also another key aspect that my role, and we review closely with our scheduling and supply chain teams, and how the plant can be given, what quantity the plant can be given, so that they can run their day-to-day production. So that's how my current role is defined on this aspect. And the last thing, and with my involvement in the technology and upstream product development, we also look, I mean, a lot of learning as a company we are learning with this current chip shortage, where how to deal with this, like when this type of comes in again, what needs to be done in future, because your technology is growing rapidly, and when you keep grading technology and where you are capacitizing, and I see some markets already there are a lot of focus, like in US, where is there a way we can localize the chips instead of what they're getting it. So there clearly some of the critical aspects of technology aspect of it, whether if you're investing in chips design development, will it stay longer in a longer term, right?
Mhm.
So that's another portion where again we are collaborating within the company, within different departments within the company, and having a strong governance process and collaboration with the supply base, and see how track and trace solution we can try to bring, so that we can bring more visibility. So I am also involved in those type of discussions, so that to stabilize the supplies to the plant sites.
Okay.
Thank you.
And MP&L is the link between many different departments. I'm not sure it's always recognized how important this link is. But in your role, I think there's three areas where you impact: product development, purchasing, and manufacturing. So I just wanted to understand a little bit more, perhaps especially the first one, product development. How do you interact with product development for your current role?
Yeah, especially in my current role as a MP&L plan group role, we have manufacturing bill of material, right? So bill of material flows from engineering function downstream, and making sure that, for example, for a given product, what is our complexity assessment?
Mhm.
So because the complexity information is very important to allocate the space in the plant, and also define the material flow strategy. If the complexity is very high, if you don't have space in the plant, obviously we go outside and we ask supplier to sequence this commodity. If
Mhm.
complexity is very low, then you can bring it in the plant, and so that your sequencing and flow strategy differs. So my role basically from the product development perspective, we work very closely upstream to see how the BOM is defined, bill of material,
Mhm.
and for any new product, and even the current product, if you have some excess, if there are some parts are designed, released, sourced, PPAP'd, but if you are not procuring the part, basically it's a waste in the whole system. So how we give feedback to the
Yeah.
product development, so that you can try to eliminate those part numbers in the system and physical parts, so that you can make use of your space and utilize your space properly. And that's from material flow perspective. And from packaging perspective, we design racks, and we keep the racks to store all our commodities, the high voluminous commodities like engine and transmission, etc. Now, in the upstream design, we give those rack hot points to our engineering team, so that when they design, they consider these hot points, so that they don't skip that. Because if they don't know about the hard points, what happens is your racks, you have to bring a new rack, you have to scrap your existing rack. So that type of guardrail type of process we follow. And that's another way of engaging the upstream product development team from material flow and packaging perspective. And of course, any capacity actions are like, if you have a chip shortage as an example, is there an alternate chip availability? Or if there is a sudden delay in a part supplies, can we have an alternate part can be used. Those are all your regular day-to-day interactions that we do with the product development.
Okay.
That's how we do with product development. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next one, which you've kind of discussed a little bit there, is purchasing. How do you interact with purchasing?
Purchasing, basically, again, like I said, the flow strategy, when the flow strategy changes, you need to engage supplier. And from material flow perspective, we take a call. So if you are going to ask supplier to sequence the commodity, whether whatever the quotation that supplier is giving, is it as per the right standard, or we kind of do that validation upstream, so that our inputs goes and then we take a call. So basically writing a business case for a given commodity, can we do in-house sequence or supplier sequence? And that's the one type of engagement. Similarly for the packaging side, the fabrication that we have with, if it is a company invested racks, we directly engage with the supplier, the packaging suppliers. If it is supplier owned investment, first we validate whether the investment what supplier is quoting is correct. And number two, once it is kicked off, and we ensure that the progress of packaging development is on track. So those supplier communication we always have. And apart from this too, we also take care of the manufacturing readiness at supplier end, where we engage closely with purchasing and STA communities, where if supplier is not meeting the standard timing, in terms of the PPAP timing, it is going to impact your downstream activity, especially in the launch phase. So we do those interactions and see to that suppliers ready when they see the orders from the OEM, they're fine to ship the parts. And we make sure that the stability. That's my interaction with the purchasing community now.
Yeah. And then manufacturing. So how do you support manufacturing?
Yeah, basically our manufacturing engineering team takes care of all the facilities upgrade, like you are adding a new shift or you are adding a new product within the existing brownfield scenario, or you're introducing something in a greenfield, a brand new plant site, you're bringing any new product there. So we work very closely with manufacturing in terms of your workstation design and the movement of parts. So what is your line side space? So that our aim is how to avoid multiple handling. If supplier ships the pack from supplier doorstep, our intent is use that as it is in the line side at the point of it in the OEM. So if you start handling multiple times, like you repack to suit the line side, basically you're adding cost in the whole chain. So the TVM, total value management process, is something we work very closely. And so that our space in the line side shop floor and space at the marketplace and space what we need in the warehouse. So all those space computation and communication we have with manufacturing engineering, because it is important to flow the material to the respective shop floor operations, the machines and all that. So that's something very closely involved with manufacturing engineering. Similarly, any ergonomics or safety standards that we should follow, because some commodities you need to pick and deliver, and if your productivity rate is very high, after some point in time, ergonomically, the operator will feel not feel very good. So we make sure what and how the flow of racks and flow of parts. So the least least fatigue that employee, or nil fatigue, I should say, nil fatigue the employee follows and operator takes to do the assembly. So I think those elements we closely interact with the manufacturing engineering.
Okay. And do you have a powerful voice in those, in the sense of, I hear from other people, other car makers, that purchasing, that they kind of operate in silos. Make purchasing decisions without too much concern about how it affects material planning and logistics. And manufacturing, one of the things I hear is manufacturing tend to tell us what they want and then expect us to do exactly what manufacturing tells you, instead of listening to perhaps better solutions that come from your side. So do you have a powerful voice to actually influence decisions that will, and let's face it, you do it to support them. So, you're trying to help them, but do they listen or do that like silos?
No,
I don't care what you think. This is what's best for manufacturing.
no, I think it's a collaboration, like you rightly said, Luis. It's a collaboration. We give our inputs, and clearly I see there are a lot of good synergy and good
Mm-hmm.
synchronization, I can say, among the team, because it's a team game at the end of the day. If
Yeah.
I mean, like for example, I cannot follow only design for logistics and missing the design for manufacturing and assembly.
Yeah.
If I do
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm not giving a justice, right, for what I'm doing. So really, we work very collaboratively in upstream, and we have a clear cadence, and we have forums to communicate our point of view. And our leadership in Ford clearly encourages to work together and come up with the solution, because it is important that if there is a difference, we try to solve. Sometime meeting goes for long, but it is still a needed, much needed, and upstream to have that collaboration, so that downstream there won't be any major impact. We come across many such categories where there will be always differences, but the time you explain the way they understand, in terms of what is the big picture and what is the enterprise view.
Yeah.
And then in my experience, at least for last 1.5 years, I'm leading this role. In my experience, really that this is a team play, and I can clearly see that Ford is really going ahead with a very good team collaboration with other functions in terms of delivering the launches or even your day-to-day production.
Okay, thank you. And we're looking at kind of globalization and the Asia, kind of area. But so you work for the International Markets Group at Ford. What does the International Markets Group mean? What areas does it cover? What areas do you cover within the International Markets Group?
Yeah, in international market group, we basically cover India, Thailand, South Africa, um, and Brazil,
Mhm.
Argentina. So all these primary markets, we cover as part of and Uruguay, and we cover as part of international market group. And it's a newly established group. When I say newly, couple of years ago, that the group was newly established. Earlier, it was Asia Pacific group, where China and all the Asia market were there. And knowing the China growth, clearly, company has taken a clear strategy, and that's how the international market group was formed. Though
Mhm.
I'm working in international market group in India, we have a very clear center of excellence strategy from Ford Global. So it
Mhm.
means my interaction is not restricted only with international markets or the respective plants. Yes, I am responsible for those respective plants, but I always have a say in interacting with my Ford China counterpart, Ford North America counterpart, Ford of Europe counterpart. It basically helps us to synergize in the longer term. Okay.
Yeah.
To your point on globalization, I think it is really we are heading towards that. There's a clear company strategy what we can do on globalization, and we kind of do all that center of excellence function mostly out of India right now, in supporting the global operations. In that
Mhm.
way, I'll be also having a reach to understand the best practices followed in other location, the other
Mhm.
plants, and those lessons really shaping what we should be doing differently. So we have very close interaction with the global team.
Yeah. You've got some tough economies there, tough challenges from each. The economic challenges maybe in South America, South Africa, the infrastructure challenges in India, and so on. So you've got some tough kind of regions there. What are the biggest challenges of that sector of the international markets group regions for you?
Yeah, I mean, from the overall business perspective, if you see recently, Ford has invested $1 billion investment in South Africa to expand, because knowing South Africa is a
Mm.
growing market, and
Yeah.
also we do a lot of exports from South Africa. Clearly, we have a high confidence that the market grooming. So it means that we have enough clear focus. Similarly, we have sites in Argentina and Brazil, where we have currency challenges, and that always creates, and our profitability and other aspects is always a challenge there. So we are
Yeah.
taking some measures exactly. So yes, you are right in saying each market has got its own challenge, and that's the aspect that by having a stronger product portfolio and bringing what exactly the business needs, and that drives what you call the profitability. And I can clearly see that it is improving, that the trend is improving, though yes, you have COVID pandemic, you have chip shortage, all that is striking, but with the external factors are striking, but clearly we see a synergy going forward on dealing with all the international markets and bringing a strong product portfolio in that market, so that try to ship the vehicles, build one place and ship those locations also could be another strategy that we are kind of working on. So in my view, I think it's a good set of markets builds the common product, and obviously the volume differs, and that decides where the toolings and suppliers will be located. But we try to see high volume suppliers are co-located so that you can contain the logistics cost from the logistics and transportation and inventory perspective. But yes, there is a clear synergy there, Luis.
Yeah. In your previous role as where I first met you was in China. I remember one executive from a global car maker a few years ago was based in China. In fact, he was a Chinese gentleman, and he was sent to India to try and improve and grow their Indian logistics. And I remember meeting him in India, and he said to me, "I thought China was crazy until I came to India." So, I mean, you've worked in
Mm.
both very exciting, very important to the future of the global automotive industry. Have you got any, is there anything you compare or contrast between China and India?
Yeah, very good question. I think, see, I worked in China very recently, 17, 18, and early 19.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I clearly see the there is a very strong directive from China from the new energy vehicles aspect. Okay, so the policy, government drives clearly the policy, where we have done a lot of electric vehicles, and we are still having that momentum. If we all know that China is one of the leading electric vehicle manufacturer, right, from automotive side. So there is a strong focus, and every company complies. And India, yes, it's coming up, but not to the pace that what has come up in China. Clearly, that difference I can see from my point of view. I'm able to differentiate.
Mm-hmm.
And product portfolio is the next step. I mean, from the in terms of supporting the right product, and I'm not talking only specific to Ford. I'm talking in
Yeah.
general across the automotive OEMs. Um, Clearly, China, from the volume that they make and the capacities that they have, because I recall at one point in time China able to make 60 million per annum, 60 million passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles, but they were making only 35 million.
Yeah.
Right, so I mean there's a excess capacity there, obviously, because when there was drop in 17 and 18 time frame, when the volume was start dropping there, um, and I see that similarity in India. In some car makers, yes, we are coming up with a new car maker, but we have excess capacities in the location, especially non-Indian multinational companies in India. They have excess capacity as well. So that I see as a comparison, that the taste and market tastes are differing. Clearly, if I again see the consumer preferences are changing, right, both in China and India, and that is really giving more challenge, that our product life cycle is no more 7 years or 8 years. It is becoming more shorter and shorter. Okay, and from supply chain perspective, When your product life cycle is shorter, your turbulence, your agility in managing supply chain increases, right? And over and above that, in China, the with the volume, the sheer volume they have, there are a lot of good plans in terms of the battery localization, uh, closer to the market, and there are a lot of synergies, the new synergies, which I learned a lot in the automotive logistics conference, both in
Yeah.
Chengdu as well as in Shanghai in 18 and
Mhm.
19. And India, we still have a lot to go. I mean, in terms of bringing that synergy in India, in terms of what do you call it? Giving an example, in China, I see the packaging. You
Mm.
have a very good rental model in packaging, and also the rental pack goes cross car. When I say
Mm.
cross car, cross OEMs.
Mm.
Across OEMs, there is a very good empty container management of packaging, and that reduces your freight cost, and that gives a competitive quote to OEM. Whereas in India, I could see that we still need to bring that kind of strategic changes. It started, I can say, but it is not to the max that we are utilizing.
Mm.
So yes, we are behind. In India, we are behind right now for China. But overall, your digital technology side, I can say both are compared to each other. Because, for example, um, the new technologies that we are trying to bring, I know in China there was direct on sale model. I mean, I
Mhm.
mean, I think Tesla or some other OEMs they brought. After I
Mm.
left, I remember they launched some direct to consumer type of
Yeah.
sale option. India, yes, we're exploring that as well. I could see from the automotive sector perspective, but
Mhm.
overall automation, simulation, and bringing the blockchain, all these technologies as well, I can compare between China and India. We have a good skilled resources, talent,
Yeah.
and our tech houses are really, really upbeating. And we work
Mhm.
very closely with the US and other Western markets in terms of bringing these technologies. So from the
Yeah.
technology capability perspective, I can see India is much giving the services to the other, because the volume is there in
Mhm.
the growth markets like China and India. But if you ask implementation aspect of it, how much we use these technologies, how these markets are utilizing it, I see India is behind
Mhm.
from automotive side in comparing with China.
Yeah.
Hope I think I just sharing with you what comes to my mind. So based on what I can compare in my area and also in the overall automotive industry between China and India.
Oh,
Thank
perfect.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You touched upon it there with packaging. You know, packaging is something that's becoming ever more important for the global automotive industry. I guess particularly because of the cost involved in packaging. So again, you touched upon it a little bit or quite a bit for India there, but for the region, the kind of what are the challenges you face? I mean, the big things are that we see globally are maybe standardization of packaging, sustainability for packaging, and then the cost management, the visibility. Are they all three? All of those seem that they'll be particularly challenging in your region, as you said. In Europe, they've got good systems in place and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, we still have a good set of challenges in packaging. I can say, for example, your visibility.
Yeah.
And visibility of packaging basically helps us to bring more utilization, brings more operational efficiency by
Yeah.
knowing utilization rate and reducing the investment cost, right? Overall cost. So yes, we have, this is another good example how the central function basically drives these type of innovation in
Hmm.
packaging, what you can try to bring in overall supply chain, having the right packaging material, introducing the right packaging design, and bringing a good pack density for any part. Because if you try to improve the pack density by keeping the LBH, your dimensions of the pack, it means you're going to reduce the per piece price per per part, right? To the
Yeah.
extent, because you're going to
Mhm.
reduce the logistics cost for to that extent.
Mhm.
So yes, we have those clear global opportunities that we want to learn from other mature markets, and we want to make use of that in all the developing markets. When I say developing, including India, Thailand, when we are bringing a new launch, what we
Mhm.
can do to improve the
Yeah.
visibility. So we have that journey. We have started that journey, and we know we are hearing the digital thread, factory of tomorrow, more digital integrations, so that we can virtually do a lot of things. And pandemic is classic example. It is allowing us to think differently,
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
sense, instead of you visiting all the key sites in person, what can we do to do a virtual planning,
Yeah.
virtual assessment, so that 80% of your time you can do virtually where you are located, and then your 20% of time, obviously, yes, you should go in person and do the execution part in the plant sites. So that's another example, like
Mhm.
packaging I'm saying. So if you can get that packaging challenges, your standardization, your design interaction, which I mentioned, that interacting
Yeah.
upstream and all that, that is a great opportunity, I can
Yeah.
say. The other opportunity I can think of is there is a ocean waste plastics. There's a
Mhm.
huge
Mhm.
plastics
Yeah.
ocean waste operation. I
Yeah.
have seen in the net recently that they're getting some cool products, and there are
Mhm.
companies coming up now to use that plastic to drive our sustainability. And
Mhm.
that's a clear opportunity, because the cost is very high right now, because it's a newly coming up. But how we can make use of those plastics in an affordable manner, so that you can make use of those plastic components into our packs or packaging for use for
Yeah.
automotive packaging. So that's another way of driving sustainability.
Okay. And on that subject, sustainability, again, your region is a challenging one because of either they're developing now, they're very cost focused in, say, India, they're also cost focused in South America because of the economy and so on. Is it under your remit to try and develop sustainable supply chain, sustainable logistics? And what are you doing? What's the strategy or to achieve that?
Yeah, again, it's a good question. What we right now do is we start first, as like you rightly said, we are more cost conscious
Mhm.
in terms of affordability, and in,
Yeah.
in in comparing with our competition, right?
Hmm.
So we first prioritize that, and when we start seeing the maturity, when there is a we have a clear proof of sustainable measures, and when we start slowly seeing the maturity, we try to implement. Classic example is electric vehicle. As a vehicle, we are implementing that electric vehicle in markets like, say, in US, in China,
Yeah.
but not in India, not in Thailand right now immediately. The reason is we still see market has to go through that cooling factor, right? So
Hmm.
when we open up, obviously maybe a year, 2 year down the line, clearly when it gets affordable, when I say
Yeah.
affordable, your today's cost of battery car is much
Yeah.
higher than your current car.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
when you try to see more localization, more technology improvement, then your cost can come on par with your current internal combustion engine car. So that's the place. So same logic works for all this technology, sustainability especially,
Yeah.
because if you really want to drive for, like I said, ocean waste plastics,
Yeah.
if you want to use the plastic, that cost is 2 times or 3 times higher than what I today use, right?
Hmm.
But as an idea, this is the right thing to do. And if there is an industry, if there is a focus and drive, if there is a government involvement, clearly we see that can be affordable after some
Yeah.
point in time. So that's how we kind of approach, especially for international markets group.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
And I know you're very interested in development of talent for the industry as well. So for me, as a young 59-year-old man who's looking forward to a long future still in the automotive supply chain and logistics industry, what kind of thoughts or advice do you have for people looking? What talent should they have Are they all going to be, tech geeks or, experts in physics and maths? Is it supply chain? Is it agility? What do you think the future talent for our industry, specifically in MP&L and supply chains, will be like in a few years?
Yeah, this is a great question, and I like this very much because I am the believer of constant learner. Okay, I basically learn very frequently. I keep learning new things.
Yeah.
So in my point of view, again, first step is how to upskill our current workforce.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's important, because
Yes.
everyone now that the rapid change in our technology around us, and if we keep doing the same job in the same manner, after a few years we'll become redundant. So how we upskill ourselves, I think that is the initiative. We are also having very good collaborations with universities, and we try to get some talent from university and engage them in some of our project, sending our people outside to learn some of the analytics and other data science skills. That is one portion I clearly see from the current even existing workforce they need to spend time on.
Yeah.
For the newcomers in the longer run, I clearly see we are heading towards no more assumption based decision. It is our experience based decision. It is now becoming more and more data driven decision. Any major decision you take, it's important that how you can interpret with the data and try to take a decision. And even we think in a car, if we give 100 features, and if customer don't pick some of the features, and when you upgrade that product for the given market, do you really need that feature, right? That decision today we don't know, and in future we will be knowing that, right? So that type of data driven insights is definitely needed, so that you understand your customer and your customer preferences, and then try to bring that what exactly customer wants. And also I see from the future team, and should be a much broader collaborator. There should be a very good collaborator, because collaboration within the company, collaboration across the company, collaboration across the industry. Because if you try to collaborate across industry, many things opens up. For example, I'm comparing today pharmaceuticals and health sector supply chain, where they use the cold storage supply chain. And when I start thinking, okay, I'm going to get my batteries into my product, and do I need to follow some of the cold storage guidelines? And is there something we need to think differently, right? So that opens up. So I clearly see and the flexibility and growing mindset, which I told about, the learning, the constant learning and all that. So ongoing basis, we give, even today we give a right room in terms of the team to learn and come up and upskill themselves, sorry. And ongoing, I think that's how we can sustain in the business. If you see in LinkedIn, if you see in Google, you will see plenty of technologies, what 2030 is going to look like, 2040 is going to look like, right? And our universities today, you take Indian universities or even in China, there are a lot of changes already. The thinking process started changing. How to academic, you need to bring more practical oriented, and like data analytics is one of the mainstream even in the teaching in universities now. That was not the case 3-4 years ago. So there is a change. um, I think we are going in the right direction. And more important, like I said, collaboration and positive thinking. These things are very important, and we don't know what will happen to pandemic and what is going to come in down the line. So we should also have that resilience and agility and lean mindset. So this is all I can think of, Luis.
Yeah. No, very good points that you made there. And the kind of collaboration and flexibility and upskilling is important, because I think there's going to be a tough crossover where I personally believe we can't allow data to make too many decisions. We need the experience of people as well. So you have to find that fine balance where we don't ignore, the experience and, and things you learned
Absolutely.
over the years to just simply go by just the plain digital
No.
data-driven decision.
No, data is plenty, right? So the
Mm,
value of that comes only when you try to pull out the insights from the
yeah.
data. Unless
Hmm.
you do that, that insight pulling, you need an experience,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yes.
And that skill obviously has to come. It won't come immediately for the newcomer
Hmm.
unless uh, unless the employee goes through a cycle. We call
Hmm.
in software, we call at least one project cycle, right? It's 2 to 3 years. I think then the person can make a call exactly
Hmm.
how to interpret the data and get good value out of the data. That is important, because today even data is plenty, we don't know what to do with the data.
Yeah,
Right? So
it's true. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, very good. Well, thank you very much, Bala. Thank you very much, Dr. Balakrishnan. I think you don't necessarily choose or are given easy roles. The role you had in China with the joint venture was a challenging one. The role you have now with the International Markets Group is also very challenging. But with the strategy and planning role that you now have, I think suits you, as you've always been someone who looks at things from above and looking down to see what's the best possible solution. So I think you're in the right place at the right time now for Ford Motor Company. I look forward to staying in contact with you, Bala. And thank you very
thank you.
much for sharing your insights.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. I think always pleasure to talk with you. And I love the conferences and that what I attended, automotive logistics conferences. And after coming back, I had also attended a couple of conferences after I
Mhm.
reached India also. So again, thank you, spending some good time. And also I'm really happy to give any future topics. You feel free and discuss with me, and we can have a chat and we can continue our conversation to improve automotive business.
Thank you very much, Bala. I really appreciate it. And
Thank
for
you.
those listening and watching, I hope you enjoy the interview, and you will see other interviews that I've done with Volvo cars, with Volkswagen of America, with Ford, and with Honda, North America supply chain, and some great ones to come up. So I hope you've enjoyed this one and enjoyed the interviews for the future. And I look forward to hearing your feedback on this and suggestions for other interviews. So thank you very much, Bala, and thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.